Hello again everyone, welcome back to the One Piece Book Club where you sit with me and we analyze the new One Piece chapter with our big bulbous brains. Today we're on chapter 1128 titled RPG. It seems Oda is in his video games era. This chapter opens with Sanji carrying Nami because she hurt her foot. Absolute win for me. I think this is an adorable panel. But more importantly, Sanji says this can't be a dream. There wouldn't be any men in it. Funny haha gag aside, the mention of dreams are still being brought up. Not only that, it seems most of the Straw Hats woke up in this place. As Zoro and Usopp both explain, they woke up in different areas. It seems Nami and Usopp woke up at around the same time in the castle, while Zoro woke up to hear Luffy battling a giant rabbit. Where Sanji woke up, we have no idea, but we can assume he was either with Luffy, with Zoro, or he was found along the way since he roasted the rabbit. This is confirmed later on, as Sanji talks about roasting the rabbit. Usopp then tells us they must have been turned into giants because giants wouldn't have human-sized clothes laying around. And Nami responds with, "So are you saying this is Elbaf, and we've been turned into giants?" We'll get back to that. The Straw Hats decide to go into town to see what's going on, where they run into a man on a giant grasshopper. Both Nami and Sanji back off because they're afraid of bugs, and I knew Oda did not forget Sanji was afraid of bugs. Thank God. This truly is Mocktown / Skypiea 2.0. The random man says this vast land belongs to the sun god, and the owner of the castle was the big cat we saw in the previous chapter. This cat's name is Cat. That is quite possibly the best name Oda's ever come up with, and I'm not joking. This random guy continues on to say they must never venture in the other direction from the castle because the sun god's temple resides there, and it's guarded by vicious soldiers. And of course, Luffy can't help venturing in that exact direction in the pursuit of adventure, followed by Zoro, who seems excited for a fight, as Sanji tells Zoro off for encouraging Luffy's behavior. This is some of the funniest dialogue between the Straw Hats, and I'm always reminded of why I love One Piece when I see these interactions. Also, Nami's cheeky wink here is yet another fantastic panel and a very cute Nami face. When Luffy runs off, he smashes into an invisible wall. Something we discover is actually a mirror, and we see the Straw Hats are apparently in a giant cage. Take note of the sewing machine and the Lego pieces scattered around the place. Chopper appears. He's crying his eyes out, but our little man is okay. And Usopp takes note of how well the clothes are made, asking if this sun god is a super delicate artisan. Sanji then says the bad smell of the roast rabbit was the synthetic resin burning along with it, meaning everything around them is indeed plastic. So they grilled the rabbit over a plastic fire. Luffy is just like us, he's full of microplastics. We also find out the mirror Luffy smashed into is a one-way mirror, meaning this place exists for everything in it to be observed, while giving them the illusion of existing in an endless space. Usopp then says, "Does that mean we're already in Elbaf, a giant's house inside the land of the giants?" And Luffy follows up with, "We're here already, alright." And Nami responds, "But we don't know that for certain. All we know is that a giant did this." Big questions all around. And then a giant snake shows up. Remember when I said in my last chapter video that the giant bugs and the giant animals are giving Skypiea? And then a giant snake happens to show up. A giant snake which Skypiea also had. Yes, indeedy, indeed. I am smelling a fake god. And the god in question even turns up when they stalk through the halls of their home / temple. Oda making a point point to show us their house is not made out of Lego, so we can definitely assume they have made a playpen to keep tons of people hostage at their own enjoyment. Luffy is in Gear 5 form as he beats off the giant animals. The so-called sun god becomes enraged. The people of the town say the god's in a divine fury, and the Straw Hats move to escape. And that is where the chapter ends. A lot of things to discuss here. First of all, is this Elbaf? I'm still saying no. I don't believe so. Remember in the last video how I was reluctant to call these other people around giants? Welp, it seems they're not giants. This guy on the grasshopper is quite big, but he's no giant. This is standard man size for One Piece, I'd say. After all, Whitebeard was probably as big as this guy. It seems there's misdirection everywhere. I believe we're being played with big time because I don't know why Oda would make us question if this is Elbaf so much. The fact they keep bringing it up means we are definitely meant to question it. Because if this were Elbaf, wouldn't this guy who's cosplaying as a sun god recognize Luffy, who looks like Elbaf's sun god? I'm pretty sure this guy is definitely a fake god, similar to Enel, and I'm pretty sure they've made a D&D type of situation for themselves. They're role-playing, essentially. This chapter is literally called RPG. Either way, if this were Elbaf, then they'd surely recognize Luffy. Oda made a point to show us Dory and Broggy calling Luffy their sun god, or saying he looks like their sun god, and not recognizing Luffy aside, this fella also looks nothing like Luffy in his sun god appearance. I'd also assume someone who worships the Elbaf sun god wouldn't cosplay their god, especially incorrectly. Dory and Broggy have also taught us the Elbaf giants take their faith pretty seriously, unless Dory and Broggy are just particularly very religious. Amen, am I right, fellas? Again, I am not a theory crafter, so hear me out. It could be a giant colony. That's possible, but I personally think Luffy and his crew have been shrunk down. It seems there's a lot of trickery at play, things that could be explained by devil fruits, and nothing feels like reality. Usopp's line, however, of saying they've been turned into giants feels like a purposeful misdirection. Have they been turned into giants? Or is it the other way? Has a normal person shrunk them down to play with them? All the animals are giant-sized, this room is made of Legos, and there's a sewing machine outside the cage. The castle and the bees literally both have names that indicate them being huge. The cat is just called Is Cat. Like, come on guys, it's just a cat. Either way, it's a lot of pet-type animals, even the snake, and I'm suspicious of this so-called god. I don't think they're a giant. I just think the Straw Hats are in a Thumbelina situation, because we know everything on Elbaf is huge, but we don't know the case with the other giant colonies. And again, I'm pretty sure this is not Elbaf since this person is cosplaying as a sun god. That looks nothing like the Elbaf sun god. Am I thinking too hard? Maybe, but I am surely convinced this is not Elbaf. The question remains, then where are they? They could be on a random island we've never seen before. That's very possible and probably the situation. Or, and I don't know if this is the case, I'm just thinking out loud, could they have possibly drifted to Sphinx Island? The reason I say this is because the guy on the grasshopper looked to be Whitebeard size, but that can't just be my reasoning because there's plenty of Whitebeard sized men in One Piece's world. So my other reasoning is the sun god's house itself looks similar to the architecture of Sphinx Island's houses. Sphinx Island has also become become relevant story-wise thanks to Marco and Wano. And Stussy's clone was just revealed to us during Egghead. And the original Stussy is currently residing at Sphinx Island. It's a total shot in the dark, and I'm not expecting this to be right. I just don't think this guy is a giant, so I'm matching up what I've seen to what we've previously been shown in this manga. I know it's a reach, I know. But this is a safe space for us to talk about our stupid ideas, okay? Please be nice to me. But we still have many more questions than answers. How did the Straw Hats get kidnapped? Is this really reality we're seeing, or could it still be a dream? How is there a flourishing society in this fake world with no one seemingly questioning it the way the Straw Hats did? Why did the big tree make a big noise in the previous chapter? And of course, were the inconsistencies in the previous chapter actually on purpose, or were they just Oda's countless mistakes? We're supposed to be confused. I do at least know that much, so I just can't tell if those inconsistencies were part of the confusion or not. And what is with all the references and parallels to Alabasta? There seems to be quite a bit of them. From the Alabasta Monster Trio attack, to the Royal Cat, to the Hedgehog fight. What in the world is going on, and what does this have to do with Alabasta? I'm still not quite convinced that what we're seeing is reality, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some mind altering going on here. Not just with the Straw Hats, but with the multiple people existing within this cage. Overall, the Sun God, I think he's just an Elbaf weeb. I want to believe this guy came back from his 9 to 5, suited up in his cosplay, was excited to see his little D&D sphere, and was confronted with Luffy absolutely ripping his pets to shreds. What a tough life this fella must have. Also worth noting, the other people of the cage know what the fake Sun God looks like. So they've clearly integrated themselves into this world. This world which is a fake cage. We got another Elbaf nerd. I don't know what else this could be. Their design is awesome though. I'm not sure what the moose skull represents, but once again, being the Sun God sure doesn't seem to be the case. With that being said, feel free to discuss this out in the comments. This was another trip of a chapter, and for all I know, everyone's still tripping out on Absinthe. I just bet Oda's laughing his ass off watching us try to decipher all this, and he's doing a damn good job at keeping us confused because no one seems to be agreeing on anything. For now, this is one of my favorite openings to an arc yet. It's so exciting and so mysterious, and my brain is buzzing with what could possibly be happening. And I will be back to talk about the new chapter next week. Please take note, I only read the officials, so these chapter videos will only coincide with the officials. If you'd like to see my chapter reactions in real time, you can join me on my Twitch or my YouTube VOD channel. Please be aware they're a bit rambly because I get too excited about One Piece to collect myself in my live streams. With that being said, thank you and bye.